Oh, how are we doing today? Welcome in, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. It's 1:11 in the morning. Had a late night, went to work, went into the gig at 8. Decided that I was going to walk for about an hour, so I did. And then we started, I clean. That's what I do. I don't know if I've ever shared that. Cleaned, and then I was like, well, I guess the guy who's not, there was another guy there, but I never connected the dots that he was working for the guy that I normally work with. And by the time I did realize that he'd already left, and I'm like, oh, I guess I need to finish. So only been home for about an hour. Been listening to um an album that came out when I was a teenager, and I never realized. I remember I was reminiscing about the night that I got it, and I think I want to say I was 15. So this album is older than I care to think about actually right now, but I just did. And it's an amazing album. And I hadn't listened to it in years. I just go home on YouTube and I started listening to it. And I'm like, it's amazing how the songs you were singing when this album came out when I was a teenager, how the words are the same, but when you're listening to the song, it hits you so differently. And the album I'm referring to is, like I said, I consider it to be the greatest, or one of the greatest Christian albums ever produced, ever made, ever created, ever whatever. And that is Jesus Freak by DC Talk. And it was quite a departure from what they had done before. And I remember thumbing through the pages and I was like, what is this? And then I listened to it and I began listening to it over and over until it became part of who I am. And I had forgotten about that until earlier I was doing whatever and I came across a performance of one of the members of that group who is now with a different group. And he was singing one of those songs off the album called In the Light. And I was like, wow, because when I stumble across stuff like that, I'm like, why am I seeing this now? And I kind of told you a little bit on the second half of last night's video about how I'm preparing a message for our church, and I'm rolling around ideas in my head about things I want to include, because it's one of those things that I don't know if I'm going to get this shot again. I don't know if I'm going to get this opportunity again. And I've been sort of rolling around different ideas in my head about what I wanted to say in this message for years now, but it's never quite come together. And I'm a guy who is willing to wait, willing to wait and let things come together, crystallize, whatever you want to call it, into I've learned patience over the years, and that's the reason why I'm like, okay, we're gonna grind. But I mean, and I know I complained a little bit with Wicket and Nisa and Chupio, but it was like I was like, you know, I'm not perfect, right? And so the waiting and the grinding kind of got to me, and I'm sure there'll be something else that will hit me like that, and I'll just be like, well, here we are again. But I realized that I was like searching, and I saw this, and I'm like, started thinking about this album that I just started listening to it on YouTube when I got home, and I'm like, okay, that's what that means. Okay, I've not, and the message that I'm going to give is called Life on the Road. You may be thinking, what in this, what? What does that even mean? And it comes down to the fact that we all live, and I don't know that I've ever shared this before, but maybe I have, that there are 5 fundamental things that I believe that hold back believers in one form or the other. And those are comfort, convenience, control, safety, and perception. And because basically our life has just became exactly what we saw in 2020, where nobody wanted to go anywhere. We just wanted to Netflix and chill. And I'm using that phrase on purpose. We just wanted to Netflix and chill. We couldn't be bothered. We didn't want to, we were like, well, we have everything. We can go to the store, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. We'll get back to normal life, apparently. And we'll get back to life eventually. But, largely speaking, that is still where we live. And that's where we've existed for all of my life, frankly. Probably longer. We're not, and in my opinion, we're not walking towards Gomorrah. We're not sliding towards Gomorrah. We're sprinting towards it. And what life on the road is meant to present is, it's basically going to take into account all of the aspects of what I just said in the context of a man named Jonah and how he wanted to leave what is now modern day Tel Aviv and sail all the way to modern day Spain instead of go to Nineveh. And there's going to be more to it than that, but that's the broad overview. And my aim is to make people look at that story just like because we've heard, that's a story that we tell Sunday school kids are taught, and about the whale and the fish, and ooh, he gets swallowed by a fish, and look at this giant fish. And we make the story, and we make the Sunday school lesson all about the fish, and ooh, he was in this fish, and blah blah blah, and all that stuff. But what it's about is it's about a guy who has a lot of hatred for the people of Nineveh, that he would rather go to what that at that time was the other side of the modern world, of that world, the world that was there at that time. He would rather try to go and sail and run away from it. He wanted to try to control the situation because he didn't want to be uncomfortable. He didn't want to be uncomfortable. He didn't want to be inconvenienced because of, and it might not be safe, and how it might be perceived. And instead, he wanted to go to Spain. And a lot of times every day we're faced with choices. And a lot of times I've been guilty of this in the past. I was probably guilty of this today, of not wanting to be inconvenienced, of not wanting to be uncomfortable, of not wanting to do something because of how it might look or be perceived, or the fact that it was not safe, or I couldn't control the situation. We do that every day of our life. We don't even know it. We don't even notice, because it's just, to us, it's too trivial. To us, it's too hard, or to us, it's too hard. To us, it's like, I have to go do that, or I don't want to do that, or I'm scared of that. And so we don't even try. So we just rather phone it in, rather just play it safe than even try. And the thing about Jonah is, this wasn't some schlub telling him to do this. This was the creator of everything. The guy who could have had the being that could have had anybody in the cosmos do it. But instead, he chose Jonah. And I wish that I could say that I would have done something differently. But I do the same thing every day. We all do, in one way or the other. It's just sometimes we don't realize it because we got other stuff to do. And the thing is, there's always other stuff to do. There's always stuff to be done. I think a couple of days ago, I talked about my wife and how she has this list of stuff that she needs to be accomplished. And the thing is, that list is always going to be there. The floor is always going to be dirty. The lawn is always going to need to be mowed. Clothes are always going to need to be washed. And you can do that literally any day. But was there something today, or is there going to be something tomorrow? That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you to experience, for you to be part of, for you to be the key figure in. But you might not because you're scared, or you did not because you were scared, or you couldn't even. It's going to be this is going to be a thing that, quite frankly, I'm honestly hoping that it makes people angry. Because it makes me sad when I consider the time in my life that I've wasted. I don't consider this a waste because I get to talk to you and I get to tell you my heart, and I hope you hear it. I hope you're still watching, and I don't consider this a waste of time. What I do consider a waste of time is when I go into my wife's room and she unloads on me about the dumbest stuff ever. Honestly. That, because she will literally spend an hour and a half talking to me, and then she'll roll over and be like, okay, I'm going to bed. I'm tired. That, to me, is a waste of time because it's agonizing. It's agonizing because why? Because she could have literally told me that any other time. And that's what I mean about the laundry and the other stuff. There's always, she could tell me that while she's doing laundry or whatever, or while we're doing laundry or whatever. But instead, but there's stuff we just miss out on just because we're scared. Or just because we'd rather Netflix and chill because the game is on. Because there's a football game on, because there's a baseball game on, because there's something on. Okay. Anyway, that's all I got for tonight. I hope if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything, let me know. God bless. Hold the line. See you tomorrow. Bye.